Every man, no matter how great, will one day taste the venom of insults. Whether whispered in the marketplace, hurled in the court, or spoken behind closed doors, insults are weapons. But how does one defend without appearing weak? How does one conquer without raising a sword? Tonight, we enter the mind of Niccolò Machiavelli to uncover the art of turning insult into power. Greetings, seekers of wisdom and strength. I am your guide into the dark corridors of human ambition, where words can wound more sharply than daggers. Insults, when faced with emotion, destroy a man's image, but when faced with reason, they become tools. Tools to silence, to command, and to elevate oneself above enemies. Walk with me as we study not the petty reaction, but the princely response. This is Machiavelli's way. When a man is struck by insult, the first enemy that rises against him is not the tongue of the offender, but the fire that stirs within his own chest. The heat of anger consumes faster than any poison, and once released, it exposes a weakness more dangerous than the insult itself. A ruler, a leader, or even the common man who cannot govern his own temper is like a soldier who carries a sword but has no shield. He may attack, yes, but he is easily struck down. Thus, before one learns how to conquer the insulter, one must first learn how to master himself. Imagine the marketplace, where the common people gossip like sparrows, each eager to see the mighty fall. A prince walks by, and a voice from the crowd mocks his decisions, questions his honor, or derides his appearance. The natural instinct of man is to flare, to respond with rage, to let his blood command his tongue. But the wise understand that the true test is not in silencing the voice that offends, but in silencing the tempest within. For when you answer anger with anger, you descend to the level of those beneath you, and the crowd will see no difference between ruler and rabble. Consider, instead, the power of restraint. A man insulted who does not flinch appears, as though the insult were but a breeze passing over stone. The crowd will not remember the words of the insulter, but they will remember the composure of the man who endured. This composure is not weakness. It is the highest display of strength. To endure without trembling is to say, without speaking, that one's dignity cannot be touched by mere words. And when people see that, they begin to believe you are carved from something greater than flesh. But let us look deeper, for there is a hidden strategy here. Insults are not hurled without purpose. They are weapons designed to provoke. Why does your enemy hurl them? Because he hopes to see you lose command of yourself. He knows that once your face is flushed with anger, once your voice rises, once your hand trembles, you will betray the very control that marks a strong leader. Therefore, every insult is a trap, and anger is the snare. To master your anger is to deny your enemy the victory he seeks before the battle has even begun. This mastery is not born in the moment of insult, but in the discipline of the mind long before. A prince who prepares for war does not sharpen his blade. The middle of the battlefield, he sharpens it in the stillness of his chamber. So too must you train your spirit. When lesser men offend you in daily life, see these as rehearsals. Let small insults fall like leaves in the wind. For if you cannot withstand the petty remark of a fool, how will you withstand the deliberate strike of a rival? It is in these daily disciplines that the art of endurance is forged. Now, one may ask, does silence not make me appear weak? Does my calm not give my enemy the confidence to mock again? The answer is found in how silence is carried. There is a silence born of cowardice, and there is a silence born of supremacy. The first lowers the head, shrinks the shoulders, and avoids the gaze. This is silence of the defeated. But the second looks directly at the offender, stands unshaken, and lets the weight of composure strike deeper than any word could. This silence declares, "You are beneath my notice." And that declaration wounds more deeply than any reply. To control anger is also to choose the timing of your response, for anger rushes to strike at once, but wisdom waits for the hour that benefits itself. An enemy mocks you today, and you say nothing. The crowd thinks you unmoved. Days later, your deeds overshadow his words. Your victories make his mockery appear childish, and the very people who once laughed at his insult now laugh at him. This is the weapon of patience. By mastering your fury, you gain the power of timing, and timing is the key to power itself. Think of Caesar, who faced the Senate's insults not with the fury of a commoner, but with the calm of a ruler. He knew that each insult revealed not strength, but fear, and fear meant opportunity. The calm man listens, not with the ears of pride, but with the eyes of strategy. And in this listening, he discovers what the enemy values, what he despises, and where he is vulnerable. To lose your temper is to lose this intelligence. To master it is to gather it as a weapon to be used later, when it will cut most effectively. Therefore, when insult comes, and it will come to all men, you must think not of the sting it brings, but of the stage it sets. The crowd watches not the insulter, but you. They weigh your dignity against his mockery, and their judgment will crown one of you with authority. If you let anger rule, you forfeit that crown. If you master it, you seize not only victory over the insult, but command over the eyes of all who witness. When insult is cast upon you, it is easy to see it only as an attack, a wound to the pride, a stain on the name you protect. Yet, a man who is guided by reason and not by passion will see in every insult something far more valuable. For insults, though venomous in sound, are revelations in meaning. They tell you more about your enemy than any flattering words ever could. They are slips of the tongue that uncover the shadows of the heart. To treat insults as shame is to waste them. To treat them as intelligence is to wield them. Picture this clearly. A rival mocks you, calling you unworthy, incompetent, or unfit. The common man hears an insult and burns with indignation. But the wise man, the one who understands human nature, hears a confession hidden within those words. For why would your rival call you unworthy? Unless he secretly fears your worth. Why would he mock your strength unless it unsettles him? An insult rarely comes from indifference. It comes from envy, from anxiety, from the trembling that your presence causes in the hearts of others. To be insulted is often proof that you matter. The tongue that attacks you is a mirror, reflecting the weakness of the speaker. And so the question is not, why was I insulted? But rather, what does this insult reveal? If a man mocks your origins, it tells you he cannot touch your present power and seeks to drag you into the past. If he attacks your appearance, it is because he cannot match your deeds. If he ridicules your ideas, it is because they threaten the comfort of his own. Every insult is like a map, guiding you to the insecurities of those around you. The art lies in reading it well. Consider the court, where princes and ministers speak with daggers hidden behind smiles. Their insults will rarely come openly. They will be cloaked in jest, in subtle remark, in whispers designed to wound but also to test. The unthinking man becomes offended and exposes himself, reacting loudly, confirming the very weakness they suspected. But the calculating man takes the insult and dissects it. He does not reveal his thoughts. He stores the knowledge away. He learns who envies him, who fears him, who seeks to provoke him into error. By this method, he turns an insult from a blow into a gift of information that allows him to strike later with precision. Even in the marketplace, among the common people, insults have their use. When the mob mocks their ruler, it is not always mere defiance. It is a signal of discontent, of unrest, of dissatisfaction that could swell into rebellion if ignored. A wise leader does not silence every insult with punishment, for punishment silences the tongue but not the cause. He listens, not with the ears of a wounded ego, but with the eyes of a strategist. The insult reveals what the people truly think, but dare not say directly. And from these whispers, he learns where his authority is fragile, where his policies are doubted, where his enemies might gain ground. Thus, even the insults of peasants can be transformed into warnings, into intelligence, into the fuel for stronger rule. It is a grave mistake to answer every insult with retaliation, for retaliation blinds you to the hidden message. The one who insults you has already revealed something of himself. Why rush to answer before you have considered the meaning? The insult may tell you he is desperate, or that he is testing your boundaries, or that he is jealous of your fortune. To understand this is to hold power, When your enemy shouts, he uncovers his fears. When he mocks, he uncovers his envy. When he slanders, he uncovers his ambitions. These are truths no spy could deliver with greater clarity. Think also of how insults can be stored for future use. A rival insults you in front of others, thinking himself clever. You endure, you study, you remain calm. Days, weeks, months later, when the moment suits you, you reveal his weakness. The very one his insult betrayed. You strike not in haste, but in season. When the wound you deliver cannot heal, this is not reaction, this is strategy. And strategy is what separates rulers from ruled, leaders from the led. Even in personal affairs, insults are a measure of relationships. A friend who insults in jest may be testing the borders of respect. A subordinate who insults in whispers may be testing the strength of your authority. A rival who insults in public may be testing your composure. Each is a message, each is a revelation, each is an opportunity to see the truth beneath the mask. The foolish man hears only the sting, the wise man hears the signal. Therefore, never let an insult pass without study. Do not merely feel it, examine it. What does it expose? What does it conceal? What motive lies beneath it? For every insult carries a hidden weight, and if you know how to lift it, you can turn what was meant to wound you into a weapon to use against the speaker. Insults are not to be suffered. They are to be collected, stored, and transformed into strategy. When the insult is delivered, when the venom is cast in your direction, the temptation of man is to answer swiftly with words, as sharp as those thrown at him. Yet the man who rises to every insult with petty retaliation shows himself equal to the insulter, and no greater. There is no majesty in trading barbs with fools, no power in lowering oneself to the gutter, where words are weapons of the weak. To answer insult with insult is to prove to the world that the offender's strike has pierced you. The wise man, the man who would rule, knows that his response must not reveal injury but command. Understand this: the true power lies not in being clever with your tongue, but in choosing a response that enlarges you while diminishing the other. A silence carried with authority, a calm smile that unsettles the aggressor, or a deed that outshines the words. These are weapons more potent than any insult could ever be. Words vanish quickly, but the impression of composure, or the weight of triumph, lingers in the minds of all who witness. Consider the theater of politics, where rivals often sharpen their insults to undermine you. If you reply with anger or with equal insult, the court will laugh at the spectacle, but their laughter will not crown you. If, however, you answer with calm dignity, the rival's words appear childish, petty, and unworthy of attention. You rob the insult of its force not by striking it down, but by letting it fall powerless to the ground. The crowd, seeing this, begins to judge the rival as a jester, and you as a sovereign. Thus, the response is not merely an answer, it is a performance, a demonstration of superiority, played upon the stage of men's eyes. But silence alone does not always suffice. Sometimes an answer must be given, yet that answer must never be equal to the insult in pettiness. A measured reply, crafted with wit but delivered without heat, can turn the insult back upon the speaker. Such a reply must never reveal agitation, for once agitation is seen, the victory belongs to the other. A calm word that cuts without raising your voice, a phrase that unmasks the insulter's foolishness, leaves him exposed and you untarnished. This is not retaliation, this is judgment made manifest in speech. And yet, words themselves are only one path. Greater still is the response of action. To respond not with tongue but with triumph. When a rival calls you incapable, show him through your deeds that you are more than capable. When he calls you weak, let victory in battle or success in governance declare your strength. An insult is soon forgotten, but an accomplishment remains carved in memory. By achieving what they mocked, you transform their words into proof of their blindness and your greatness. Nothing silences an enemy more completely than being proven wrong before the eyes of all. Think of the commander mocked as unfit by his peers, yet who leads his army to glorious victory. The insults of yesterday vanish like smoke, and the mouths that once mocked are forced to praise. Or imagine the minister ridiculed for his ideas, who then turns those very ideas into policies that bring wealth and order to the state. In such cases, the insult becomes a monument not of shame, but of triumph, for it stands as evidence of how far the insulter misjudged, and how far you surpassed him. This, then, is the art of responding with power, to rise so high above the insult that the offender looks small. If you stoop to answer in his own language, you reduce yourself to his measure. But if you answer through composure, wit, or achievement, you magnify yourself while making him appear petty. And this magnification does not go unnoticed. The people do not remember every word spoken, but they remember the image a man projects. The man who seems calm and in command, the man who seems above the reach of insults, gathers respect even from those who do not love him. You must always ask yourself, what serves me more, the satisfaction of striking back in the moment, or the advantage of letting the insult serve my greater design? The former gives you relief, but robs you of stature. The latter denies relief, but wins you authority. This is why princes and rulers must never let their pride choose their response, for pride seeks the short victory of the tongue, while wisdom seeks the long victory of power. In truth, every insult is a test. It asks, will you reveal your wounds, or will you reveal your strength? The petty man reveals his wounds. The great man reveals his strength. To endure with calmness, to answer with dignity, to act with triumph. These are the marks of one who rules not only over others, but also over himself, and the man who rules himself cannot easily be conquered by another. There is a secret hidden in the nature of insults, a secret so often overlooked by men consumed with pride. The secret is this: insults are rarely directed at the powerless. They are flung toward those who have presence, those who stir envy, those who command attention. A beggar is not insulted, for he is beneath contempt. A fool is not mocked, for he is beneath notice. But a man of power, a man whose name carries weight, will find himself the target of slander, derision, and mockery, precisely because his shadow falls upon others. Therefore, insults are not merely wounds. They are marks of significance. They reveal that you are seen, that you are felt, that you cannot be ignored. Imagine the court where nobles gather. A prince who holds no influence passes through unnoticed, his words lost in the air, but the prince whose voice shakes the chamber will find rivals whispering against him, mocking him in corners, spreading rumors to weaken his standing. They insult not because he is weak, but because he is strong. The insult is proof of the threat he poses, and if he is wise, he will recognize that every barb flung at him is an acknowledgement of his power. He will not cower before it, but wear it as a sign that he has risen above obscurity. This is how great leaders transform insult into authority. They do not deny that insults exist, nor do they waste themselves in silencing every voice of mockery. Instead, they learn to use the insult as a crown. When enemies slander them, they let the slander spread. And when their deeds contradict the words, the people see with their own eyes that the ruler has triumphed over lies. The more vicious the insult, the more glorious the contradiction. And in this way, insult becomes the very proof of greatness. Think of how history remembers its rulers. The greatest kings, generals, and thinkers were all subject to mockery in their time. Caesar was called ambitious. Alexander was accused of recklessness. Even prophets were derided as madmen. Yet what became of those insults? They became the very backdrop against which their triumphs shone brighter. For when the world mocked and yet they prevailed, their victory appeared all the more extraordinary. The insults became the echo that magnified their strength. Even in the affairs of the common man, the same principle applies. When people mock you, when they attempt to diminish you with words, you must not sink under the weight of their venom. Instead, you must take their venom and turn it into proof of your significance. Why do they speak of you at all? Why do they waste breath to deride you? Because your existence threatens theirs. Because your presence unsettles them. Because your ambition casts them into shadow. And so their insult is not a curse, but a compliment spoken in reverse. There is also a deeper art: to seize the insult itself and transform it into a weapon of identity. When they call you cruel, wear the name if it serves your purpose. When they call you cunning, embrace it as your armor. Many rulers have taken the very words meant to shame them and turned them into banners of authority. Machiavelli himself was called a schemer, yet it is for his schemes that his name endures. A leader who is mocked for severity may turn that mockery into the very image of strength that keeps rebellion at bay. The wise man knows that an insult, once claimed and reshaped, loses its power to wound and gains the power to define. Watch how the crowd behaves. If you protest too loudly against insult, they suspect its truth. If you deny it with trembling, they believe it even more. But if you stand firm, if you let the insult pass as though it were nothing, or better, if you turn it into your emblem, then the crowd begins to admire you. They admire not because the insult vanishes, but because you showed mastery over it. The insult becomes your servant, proclaiming your resilience to all who listen. Thus, when rulers and leaders face derision, they must not be quick to erase it. Let it circulate, let it echo, let it spread, for each repetition of the insult reminds the people of your importance. A man unnoticed is never mocked. A man irrelevant is never slandered. It is the great oak that attracts the axe, the towering fortress that invites the siege. If you are insulted, it is because you have risen high enough to be seen. To fear insult, then, is to fear the very proof that you matter. And so, transform insult into a demonstration of authority. Show by your calm, by your deeds, by your very endurance, that the insult has not diminished you but exalted you. Let every word spoken against you become a stone in the monument of your legacy. For in truth, the measure of a man is not how few insults are cast at him, but how well he uses them to rise above those who speak. You have now seen the art by which a man may rise above insult. First, to master the flame of anger, for fury is the snare that betrays you. Second, to treat insults not as wounds, but as intelligence, extracting from them the truths your enemies cannot hide. Third, to answer not with petty retaliation but with composure, wit, or triumph, for these responses elevate you while diminishing the offender. And lastly, to transform insults into tools of authority, to wear them as crowns, to let them proclaim your strength rather than your shame. Understand this well, insults will never vanish from the world. They are the price that power demands, the tribute envy pays to greatness. What matters is not the insult itself, but the stage you build upon it. Every word thrown against you is a chance to show mastery, to reveal composure, to turn weakness into advantage and mockery into honor. This is how one does not merely survive insults, but commands them, bends them, and makes them serve his legacy. This is how you tackle insults, Machiavelli's way.